Good evening, gang. David Guffel, Thinker Farmer here. It's actually a few days before my 28th birthday, and I'm doing some with a couple people doing some hurricane cleanup work in order to put in a pavilion in this area. I'm not going to show you the full backdrop, but I'm at working with Mr. Al Robert, and we're done for the day now. And right here we've got essentially a kind of a land clearing project. We're at the coffee house, or the Cjun Village, and it's essentially a lot of old historic buildings that have been restored and preserved. And he's planning to build a pavilion behind me and put in a lot of old farm equipment and such, and just basically store it under an awning where it can be preserved. And been working, essentially starting a few fires and burning down a lot of brush. Most of it catches easy. Right now in South Louisiana, this is about the driest this is the driest Al Robert's seen, and he's 77 years old. It's really dry right now. We're hopefully going to get some rain. Like I said, it's almost middle of November. And today I wanted to talk, I haven't done a video for a while, about, I wanted to pose this question to you in your farming journey, and more or less give an update on my journey, since I haven't in a while. So, well, one quick thought first. So, knowing that everything here is, because these trees have been down for a while actually, they're very dry. You could almost throw a cigarette butt on the wrong day, and with the wind, light this whole forest back here on fire. And you've got some old historic buildings made of wood. They go up like a match. So when you're going to burn a fire or do anything in this kind of environment, you have to take your project apart piecemeal, build small fires. At least this is the safest way to do it. You know, it's mid-afternoon right now, and I could light another couple fires, but I'm not going to, just for safety's sake. I'm going to be patient, take my time, and let the fires burn down and work more on it tomorrow. If you get in a hurry and run ahead, you could potentially get a lot done, but you're also going to run a huge risk of lighting on a lot of trees that you wanted to keep, and a lot of stuff that needs to be saved. So sometimes the most efficient approach, the fastest approach, the most direct approach doesn't work. Anyway, in my farming journey right now this year, my initial plan was going to be a very effective and a very focused year grazing livestock. And between work situations, family circumstances, and also just looking for the next opportunity, really it's boiled down to some different things going on. We've had some health issues with Dad, just family issues, processing things. When a parent dies, especially somebody as like my mother, you don't just get over it in a few months. It takes some time for everybody in the family to learn from the situations. And so, without going into the details of that, what it has essentially created for me is a roadblock in my farming, what I thought my farming journey needed to be. I was originally, wanted to go sink my teeth into grazing this year like a dog on a bone, and just spend all my time doing that. And so here's the question I pose, and anybody that has watched enough videos on my channel knows I'm a Christian. In your farming journey, are you too impatient for your own good? Are you impatient with God? Or do you have the wisdom to wait as you go through difficult circumstances? It's been, I've more or less left my immediate farming career for 6 months. I'm working with Grant, I'm working with Mr. Al Robert, I'm making plenty of money. I'm staying home, being there for family, for whatever is needed, will be for the holidays. Um, have not settled on a final job, but am probably going to do so in the next 2 to 3, well, maybe not even the next 3 months, probably by the end of the year, but we'll just see. If it ends up being in January, I pick my job, that's okay. So, are you impatient with God? Are you willing to accept his timing for your farming journey, or are you going to run ahead of him? I could recall several times in my life, just the last 5 years, where I've run ahead of God instead of being patient. And so at this point, there's a part of me that wants to get to the next thing sooner than later, that wants to know the next step, wants to get back to grazing. But patience is operationally defined as accepting a difficult situation from God without giving him a deadline to remove it. Life brings things your way. If I create a deadline of by this day I need to be here or I need to be doing this, then I don't accept the realities of life, and I'm not going to be able to learn from them. And the hard thing for me to accept right now is that as much as I talk about pacing yourself, enjoying the journey, I want to get things done. I want to be on to the next thing. I don't want to have to wait. If circumstances are hard, I want to get rid of the adversity and find an easier path. But life isn't that way. Last night I was on my way back from Bogalusa, Louisiana, and I stopped to get some ice for some deer meat to ice down. And I was counting out ones for the lady to pay for it, and I threw them on the counter and said, "Here you are, let's make sure they're right." And she looked at me and said, "I was just observing how you counted out those ones. Would it have been okay with you if I had dumped your change in front of you?" And the lady made the point that I was being impatient, whatever the reason for it was, which in my case, often I become impatient because I've had individuals who were impatient with me. But that's no excuse. Not everybody in the world is impatient. And you will, even when somebody is impatient with you, that's no justification for you running ahead. And so the challenge there for me was to look her in the eye and say, "You're absolutely right." And, but that's just one example. How many times in your day are you impatient with a close friend, a spouse, if you're married, or a sibling, daughter, son? If you're a multi-generational farm and you're the dad and you're working with your son, how often do you get impatient with your son? The worst part about it is not so much that you're impatient with people. That's pretty bad. The worst part is if you think you can get away with it with people, you're going to do the same thing with God. And in the big scheme of things, God has his own time clock for everything. And he is not going to be moved by your impatience to speed things up for you. So ultimately I conclude by saying there's wisdom in waiting and simply accepting the path you have to take. The way a mountain man would put it is, you can't cheat the mountain. There's going to be learning experiences along the way. You're just going to have to take each one by one, move through them steadily, and ultimately keep your mind on the end goal that you know you need to go after. Anyway, gang, that's what I had to share for today. Blessings for the journey.